Succes and Price for Monday, September 4th, a presentation of Bet365. We're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio, built by Arbor Lee here at the historic Wall Center. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Matt Succes alongside Blake Price, four-ton Juno Award winner Mike Rogers, and hidden switches and conducting things.
Time to tee off, Matt.
That's right. Welcome back. It's 5 days a week. Here we are.
The season has begun. The Canucks players are on the
golf course.
Like
they were in April.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's something.
Hoping for golf starting in June, right? Next season. But yeah, the Jake Milford charity golf tournament got going today. That is, of course, the unofficial kickoff of Vancouver Canucks season. You have training camp coming up in Penticton. And, we heard and saw players, coaches, managers today. So things are getting ready here for season 25.
They're undefeated, Matt. They have yet to lose.
Absolutely.
Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. Everybody's happy.
Optimism reigns. Yes. Everybody's a contender right now. And I will say this, over the course of the summer, and particularly in the days and hours after Jim Rutherford talked about having to get that second-line center, it would be more expensive not to. July 1st came and went. That second-line center didn't come. I saw a lot of people on social media commenting, well, it's a long summer. See what happens here between now and September. It still hasn't come. It seems both organization and fan base are sort of talking themselves into a combination of centers with Filip Chytil and Teddy Bluger and Atu Ratu being good enough, or at very least looking at the other component parts of the team and saying that's pretty damn good. And we should be better than we were in season 24-25, which, of course, was just a nightmare. Just when you thought we were through the dark decade of Vancouver Canucks hockey, last season crept up because, of course, 2 years ago, it was nothing but, bouquets and butterflies as the Canucks made their way to 109 points, the third best season in club history, and a Pacific Division championship.
And yet the feel of that season, which was, you're right, it was a very dark feel, was still a 90-point year. So it's a strange season also, I'll say, because they actually were within arm's reach of making the playoffs. And that's what has a lot of people saying, hey, if they only do this, this, and this, they'll be in the playoffs. And I can understand that way of thinking. Problem is, they have reworked this team. Like this team and the 90-point team, and people are saying, there's not many changes. There's not many changes from the trade deadline team to training camp. But there's a lot of changes from training camp to training camp.
Massive.
So, it's not so easy to just say, take those 90 points, add 3.5 wins, and the Canucks are in the playoffs. It's you have to consider October, November, December, January, and February, as well as what you saw over the past last 6 weeks of the season.
It's night and day from opening night last year, right?
Yeah, a lot of departures. You're forgetting. Now,
JT Miller was in that lineup. Thatcher Demko wasn't.
Yeah.
Dakota Joshua wasn't in that lineup, but he gone now.
Mm-hmm.
Pius Suter was in that lineup. Evander Kane wasn't. Marcus Paterson wasn't in that lineup. D. wasn't in that lineup. Archer Shilovs was. He was your starting goaltender on opening night last year, lest we forget. So, significant changes year over year, if not, as you say, deadline to training camp. Our poll question today, presented by the Redwoods Golf Course. What will benefit Elias Pettersson most this season? Added strength? You can vote for no JT Miller. You can vote getting married. You can vote other. And if you do, please specify in reply. Vote at the Succes and Price X and YouTube channels. Mr. Price, you get first crack at this.
I'm going to go with the no JT Miller side of this because proof of concept, he's had 90 and 100 point seasons on the skinnier frame, on the pre-13-pound frame. So we know he can do that. The bigger thing I think that most people saw was what was swirling around between the ears. And I think the lack of a JT Miller in camp probably provides a clean slate for him in a lot of ways, along with new coach and new teammates as well. But hey, and I'm not diminishing that him getting stronger is not a good thing. But the word we used is most. And so I'm going to say the most is JT Miller.
I think you can make a case for that. I also debated making a case for other and no Rick Tocchet because I don't believe that Rick Tocchet and Elias Pettersson jived for the most part. I think Tocchet, and we heard this from the head coach, found him a most difficult player to reach and to coach. And I don't necessarily think that the Rick Tocchet system of dump and chase or chip and chase hockey benefited the skill set of Elias Pettersson. But of course, we don't yet know how Adam Foote wants to play, right?
Nope.
And that is still one of the big mysteries here with a first-time ever head coach in the National Hockey League, a guy who doesn't have a ton of coaching experience to begin with. There was a couple of years in Kelowna at the WHL level. It did not go well. So I'm almost and it was great to hear from Patterson today. It was great to hear from Brock, particularly given the story with Brock. And it's always, I find, pretty helpful to hear from Tyler Myers, who has become the conscience of that Canucks dressing room. But I am most interested to hear from Adam Foote, because if you remember his introductory press conference as head coach, he sort of gave you a lot of background in terms of where he's coming from and all of that. He talked eloquently about a couple of players, Elias Pettersson and foremost. You may remember, after years of this organization, the previous head coach, not to mention the general manager and Jim Rutherford to a degree as well, criticizing Elias publicly for some of the things he was doing or wasn't doing. You had a head coach come in and basically understand where the tides were and throw his whole support and talk about, now we have to support Elias the best we can. So I thought that was a really good and detailed answer from Adam Foote when he met the media here, met the market basically, because he had done very little talking as assistant coach. But I am interested to hear more from him after a summer, which I imagine was busy with planning and thinking and theorizing with his new group of assistants on how they're going to play and what will be the best way to get goals, to get points, and I mean standings points, out of this Vancouver Canucks lineup.
Best laid plans, right? I mean, it's going to be,
because Tocchet had best laid plans at this time last year too. They were going to be a little more dangerous off the rush, and then they didn't have the defenseman to trigger that sort of transition game, and the next thing you know, it was back to running home to mama.
The most interesting display of coaching is going to happen in November. You've had preseason, you've had 10, 12 regular season games, whatever they play in October. Then they kind of know, oh, this is what these guys look like. I'm going to do this. The next 2 months are figuring it out.
We always talk in October how you will often see high-scoring games in the National Hockey League because
nobody knows what they're doing.
Defensive systems have yet to take
chickens sans heads.
hold.
Yes,
that's right. The season gets going October 9th against the Calgary Flames here at the Rogers Arena, and it's quite a busy month actually. It's 12 games in the month of October. I voted getting stronger, the added strength. And our buddy Cam Robinson, Cam will be on the show tomorrow from Elite Prospects. Let's bring up his tweet: from 161 pounds on draft day to 190 today. It took 8 years, but Elias Pettersson finally has the strength to match his skill. Perfect timing for a revenge tour. Yes, that was the big news from today, and we'll get into it in a moment with Elias Pettersson about adding roughly 13 pounds over the course of the offseason. It just became clear, Blake, as last season went on, and really the previous season too, in the second half when he was battling that knee ailment, that he needed to get stronger. And he needed to get stronger on his skates. He needed to get stronger to win those one-on-one battles. Now, you referenced the terrific seasons he had when he was a skinnier, younger player, and we often talk about how the NHL gets faster every year, and that is true. It also gets more skilled, and it also gets bigger and stronger on a year-to-year basis. So if you are hanging your hat on the Elias Pettersson Revenge Tour, I think you're doing so with him finally acknowledging that there were tools that were missing in his kit and that he has worked on them over the course of the summer. The getting married part is a sign of maturity. Mm-hmm. It's going to create a different routine and environment for Elias, and that could very much have its benefits.
He's got a diehard cheerleader in his corner.
That's right.
Right? So that helps. People are slicing it a little bit thinner in our YouTube chat right now.
Sure. What do they say?
They're kind of going off of the added strength, just on pure weight, but they're saying it's added health. That working, they're hanging on the trainer's speak from a week ago. You missed this when you were away, but his Swedish trainer Daniel Broberg's comments that his hip is now in sync with the rest of his body, or his legs. I forget what he said, what the wording was, but there, a lot of people are hanging that on that because of the injuries, getting the body just to work properly again is the biggest thing, not so much the weight in and of itself. So we'll put you down as an other for that one.
Yeah.
And not wrong.
But
part of the cocktail.
The struggles over the last year and a half.
Well, they're saying he wasn't fast. That's what the commentators say.
Yeah, okay, and that works too.
Yeah. Wasn't fast because of the health.
But injuries weren't the biggest reason, everybody. Let's get rid of that narrative. He was practicing, he was playing games throughout all this. It went like this is, for example, like Evander Kane missed all of last season, regular season, and then came back for the playoffs. When you're forecasting Evander Kane season, and we'll do a little bit of that later in the show, I think health is paramount there, right? Because you're talking about a 34-year-old guy who's coming back after missing a year. That can take some time. I don't necessarily think health is paramount for Elias. I would put confidence ahead of health.
Well, he wasn't injured, so we got to be careful with that. He's playing. He's healthy, quote unquote.
Right. A lot of guys play hurt,
but players, and I don't even know if soreness was the issue. I think that some of the injuries that he had, Matt, materially changed flexibility, just general strength in those bodies. And I'm talking wrist, I'm talking knee. I think all of that. So, some of those injuries, we were talking to Greg Bell last week about Abe Lucas on the defensive line offensive line for the Seahawks, who played the last 6 games of the season for the Seahawks last year, but was told he would need 12 months to get full strength back. And so you're healthy, you're playing, but you're not fully recovered from the injury. I think people are hoping at the very least that that's the case for Elias Pettersson, that things like his skating, things like his wrist shot return to what we had previously seen, because we are now putting distance between ourselves and the time of the injury. Yeah, no one knows the answer to that yet. But, Matt, if that's true, if we're so far away now from the last real wrist flare-up, from the last real knee flare-up, that strength and flexibility are starting to return to pre-injury norms, that is going to be a huge help. That's
fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. Our daily poll question brought to you by the Redwoods Golf Course. Where? And I can't wait to get back out there after spending some time back east. It's fantastic being back in British Columbia. Looking forward to getting out there. We got a playing lesson on course next week with their lead teaching professional, Craig. Of course, they have the heated and covered driving range, open year-round with those big shaded stalls, the putting green, the chipping green, the practice bunker. That's very underrated. Not enough courses have practice bunkers. Because how often do you practice in a bunker? Almost never, right?
Nope.
At the Redwoods, you can practice your bunker play. And God knows I need it.
Fairway bunker play, Matt. They've got a fairway bunker. At the end of the tee boxes on the decks, they've got a bunker where you can practice your 6-iron out of the sand.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. I've never seen that before.
Course is also dog friendly. You got a well-behaved pup, put it on a leash and bring it on a course.
I didn't know that.
And here in September, junior golf camps are available and running through the late summer and early fall for kids ages 6 to 16. Set your kids up for the sport of a lifetime. Private, semi-private junior lessons also available, flexible to your schedule. Winter lessons going to be available soon. Stay tuned for that. Group lesson info, go to redwoods-golf.com/instruction. Let's get to our top story, brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery, and looking forward to getting to Penticton in a couple of weeks and reconnecting with our friends from Yellow Dog. Stronger. Elias Pettersson adds 6 kilos, which is about 13 pounds, over a summer training mostly in Sweden. Nothing held him back, he said, other than some small tweaks that everybody has. Let's hear from the Canucks' #1 centerman on being stronger.
Yeah, well, I added 6 kilos, so you can add that to whatever headline.
How do you think that's going to help you?
No, jokes aside, no, I feel good. It's been a long summer, so I just tried to add some muscles and be ready to be myself again out there, and I feel confident that I will.
With the early skates, are you feeling more like yourself?
Yeah, I feel good. It's been I had a long summer of training, and so it's been good.
I love the line, be ready to be myself again.
Yeah.
Because that is both an acknowledgement that last year went terrible and also an acknowledgement that he has so much more to give and needs to be that guy. He said, add it to the headline. Elias said, is the headline.
It is. It's the biggest thing to come out of this meeting because it's a material difference. You know, again, we can talk about the clearing of his head till we're blue in the face and about a new coach and how that's going to change, how he's deployed. Those are kind of ubiquitous, concepts right now because we don't have any proof. But what we do have proof of is he's a bigger dude. And despite the poll question, chatter that we just had, Matt, one thing, even in the 90 and 100 point seasons that people did quibble with during those years was his strength, board battles, staying on his feet, all that sort of stuff. That was the quibble still in those elite seasons that he's had. So this probably was a worthwhile endeavor, regardless of what we saw last season anyhow, was for him to develop to this point. And we've seen the elite guys, Crosby, McKinnon, and McDavid too. The guys that were pretty scrawny when they entered the league. These guys are pretty stacked now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a requirement now. It kind of reminds me, Blake, of the PGA Tour. Like, you used to see guys with
super skinny, super fat, all that. Less so.
Now they almost sort of all look the same. It's because nobody wants to give up the advantage of being stronger, right?
No.
And that's everything. That's hands, wrists, core, the whole nine that these golfers work on now.
Golfers' endurance, too. 4th round, you don't want to be tired.
So, it's gone the same way. We're in the bigger, faster, stronger era of professional sports with year-round training and nutritionists and all that. So, yeah, you can't give up any inch to the opposition on this side of on that side of things. So oftentimes that means losing some or gaining some in your off season. It's another new head coach for Elias Pettersson. And I will say this, if things go poorly for Elias this time around with Adam Foote, the narrative that crept in last year, and particularly as the Vancouver Canucks were gauging his value on the trade market, is only going to get louder, right? Because we're talking about Travis Green, and then Bruce Boudreau, and then Rick Tocchet, and now Adam Foote. So 4 head coaches for Elias as a member of the Vancouver Canucks.
Connor McDavid's had a lot of head coaches too.
He sure has.
So I don't know that it's necessarily a sign that there's a problem with the superstar.
But the last coach talked about him being unreachable, and the GM talked about how his habits have to improve. So Look, I didn't think Tocchet's system was a great fit for Elias to begin with, but if we're looking at who was more responsible, to me it was Petey and not the coach.
Well, he was also talking about reprogramming him.
And
I don't think you want to reprogram a guy who's already done it, right? Like,
anyways, he's got a new head coach. He mentioned that Adam Foote, he called him a great leader, said he was good to talk to. And I think that's pretty important too, because I don't think Elias ever felt comfortable talking to Tocchet. I don't think there was a great line of communication there. He also said he has been talking with Adam Foote over the course of the summer, which is also encouraging, particularly after that press conference we talked about from Foote and how he threw all the support and said what's most important here is that we support Elias. So put it all together, and here's Elias talking about how they have the goods to be the best team that they can be.
We're going to try to prepare to be the best team we can be. I know what we're capable of, and I believe fully that we can do good things, but it starts, it doesn't start today, but it starts in training camp and starts to prepare ourselves and, to become a really good team.
The only thing I'll say there, and we'll get into this later because Boeser mentioned the same thing, that it starts the first day of training camp is not actually what the general manager has been talking about for the last 2.5 seasons, that it's a 24/7, 365 preoccupation and a continuum. There's not really a start and end date for the likes of the Sidney Crosbys and Connor McDavids of the world. It's every breathing hour about being the best hockey player you can be to be the best team you can be. He talked about how nice it was to be back home in Sweden with friends and family. And of course, you'll remember the Vancouver Canucks did want him to stick around Vancouver this summer for training. He threw him a bone. He stayed a little bit longer and then made his way to Sweden. He had to be prompted when asked about the highlights of his summer about getting married.
He already answered. I did this, that. It was great. And it was Ian McIntyre who said, did you get married? And he said, yeah, I did. I got married.
Yeah.
And then he was asked again, so wasn't that the highlight of your summer? And he said, yeah, okay. That was the best day of my life. Yeah. Yes.
Best day of my life.
I know. It's almost like he thought, maybe I can go this whole season without anybody knowing
asking me about my nuptials.
That I'm wearing a ring and
American
all that.
model. Yes. He said he felt great and is excited. He liked the fact they kept the core together for the most part. And he was one of every Canuck today talking about leaving last year in the past, that there were lessons to be learned, but that they have to be forward-looking. And on that core, as we know, it was the holy trinity of young players, right, that Travis Green inherited way back when. The centerman, Elias Pettersson, the winger, Brock Boeser, the defenseman, Quinn Hughes. And EP40 was asked about how delighted he was to have Brock Boeser, who was an unrestricted free agent for a few hours and could have gone elsewhere. How delighted.
Throw Demko into that group, too, who also got a new contract, right?
Well, he got the extension, though. He was he was delighted to have Boeser back.
Yeah, it was great. I wasn't sure what I was expecting, so once he signed, I just texted him thank you, so it was good.
How much has Brock meant to you as a friend, as a teammate since you've been here?
No, he's been here all my years when I've been here, and he's one of my closest guys in the team, so it meant it was really good and happy to see that he signed here.
You said you texted him and said thank you. Had you been texting him beforehand, being like, please, please, please?
No, I've been... I talked to him a little bit, but not too much, and not too much.
Kind of a delicate balance, like.
Yeah, no, contract situation are no fun. Especially in his situation. So he knew he always had my support, but didn't want to stumble on his toes or whatever.
Especially in his situation.
Yeah, well.
Some acknowledgement, perhaps, that there were some things said that maybe didn't sit
yeah, there were.
comfortably.
Patrick Levine at the trade deadline, if I told you what they offered me for Brock Boeser.
Which they apparently apologized for.
Right. And look, I think the common bond with Elias and with Brock, and I think Quinn is completely different on this score because Quinn is the son of Jim Hughes, and Jim Hughes is a hard man.
Mm-hmm.
And Quinn Hughes had two other brothers get to the NHL under the tutorship of a father who had a background in hockey, in coaching, in scouting, and put those young men through their paces. With Brock and with Elias, you were talking about naturally gifted athletes who were quite dominant in their rise up the ranks of minor youth hockey into college for Brock and into the pro ranks in Sweden for Elias. Most things went right for them at every step of the way. And we heard this from different coaches and managers who have been around them. Elias and Brock are more sensitive souls. Those words land a little harder than they do with Quinn, who's been through Dad's boot camps. I know somebody in Toronto who's known Jim Hughes for a long time, and when I mentioned what was going on with the Canucks, he said, "Well, Rick Tocchet, Travis, whatever they say to Quinn, I'm sure he has heard worse." Right, as he was making his way up the ranks and getting that one-on-one tutoring. Brock and Elias, and we heard this about Brock last year too, that when things were going awry with JT Miller and you had this split dressing room, that was very difficult for Brock because he considered both guys his friends and he hated the environment that had arisen there in the room. So
Quinn Hughes grew up being hockey man.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And that is, it's good hardening training, as you said.
It is.
So
it is.
Nothing shocks you going forward.
Yep.
But for both of these guys, it's comfort food to see each other around. I don't think that played into the decision-making per se for Brock Boeser.
Well, look, if it had landed too hard, he wouldn't have been back. So he's back.
If it landed too hard, he wouldn't be back.
His love for Vancouver trumped whatever happened last year and whatever difficult words he might have heard out of the mouths of bosses who, for the most part, are still there.
If there was a gigantic offer from elsewhere, I think that would have tempted him.
I think so, too.
But I think, as we saw, it was a pretty controlled, not spend-free
very disciplined
kind of summer across the league against all predictions and odds with the salary cap space. So I think, Brock Boeser went, that's good enough. I'm staying.
Yep. No Quinn Hughes today at the Milford. If you're wondering, he's in Vegas for the NHL media tour. What's up with our friends at Yellow Dog?
Well, a new hockey season is upon us, but it's the same great taste, of course, at Yellow Dog. And right now, you can get the Play Dead IPA and the Chase My Tails on special for the month of September. We're talking the Play Deads in the tall can 4-packs, the Chase My Tails in the regular size can 12-packs, cases. Love it when the craft beer comes in a good case. Chase My Tails are doing that right down this your favorite government or private liquor store.
Wait till you see the Yellow Dog restaurant.
I'm looking forward to it.
Because the dog park patio has been open for a while.
Had a smash burger there.
Had my first glimpse on the restaurant and inside of Yellow Dog in downtown Penticton. It is spectacular. We will be doing a show from there in a couple of weeks' time at a training camp. Greta, the presenting sponsor of our menu. Let's get to what's in the program today. J-Pat is standing by live. He was at the Milford, so he will join us. We will then hear from Brock Boeser and Tyler Myers, a couple of the parties tabbed for speaking today at the Canucks unofficial season kickoff event. And then, of course, it was a gigantic weekend of sports with so much going on. The NFL opening, the Lions were in action. You had the U.S. Open tennis, big happenings in the world of baseball as we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. So plenty going on a big program today. Greta, fantastic spot to watch all of the games, home and away, to pregame or postgame. You were just steps from the arena and the stadium. It's also an incredible spot for your upcoming party or event. If you need a venue for a team building, for a summer sociable, for a team party, great street food. The arcade, of course, surrounds the bar with the game for everybody. For more info to book your event, go to gretabar.com. Don't forget about the bottomless wings for $25. Greta, 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. I spent most of my week and a half away looking at all sorts of betting odds for the National Football League. You know, people tend to put a nickel down here or there on the NFL.
Is it known for that?
And I'm going to do that today on our Bet365 Bets of the Day. Monday Night Football from Chicago and Soldier Field. The first game for Minnesota Vikings quarterback J.J. McCarthy. Now, he's not a rookie because he spent last year on injured reserve with the Vikings. But his first game in the NFL, Ben Johnson's first game as the head coach and play caller for the Bills, or for the Bears. We saw yesterday outside of the Bills and Ravens that defenses were kind of ahead of offenses. There was a number of lower scoring games on the first Sunday of the NFL.
Often the case, yeah.
So I am going under 43.5 points, the total, on tonight's Monday night game.
No drug testing for coaches, I hope, for Ben Johnson. Different Ben Johnson, I'm guessing.
You're so funny. I so miss this, Blake. It was a week and a half
Right
without
there.
Blake's dad jokes.
You had to.
I was around a lot of dads. None of them were up to the standard of Blake Price when
Pretty
it comes
high.
to dad jokes.
Pretty high. We're going to get to, in the final segment, more on that Canadian men's national team with a European win for the ages. It literally has never been this big for Canadian men.
And there was a Cap, and there was a British Columbian who contributed massively to that victory.
Can they do it a second match in a row? Stefan Eustachio has gone back to Porto because he got a little bit dinged in that game versus Romania. So they're a little bit diminished. I think Wales is maybe fighting an injury here or there too. Canada's on the road, though, so you know they're going to be the dog. It's a pretty decent number. With all this momentum, they're feeling pretty good about themselves. Plus 190 on Canadian victory in Swansea, the home of the Swans.
Segment of presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Jeff Patterson is coming up next. And here he is, our Vancouver Canucks reporter, the host of RinkWide Vancouver, and he was out at the Milford today. Few people I know get as excited for hockey season as Jeff Patterson, so here he is. Nice beard.
Thank you.
It's a presumptive playoff beard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's preseason beard. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm good. I just want to start by clearing up a little confusion, and I was the source of the confusion, so allow me. I heard you just mention that Quinn Hughes wasn't there. I didn't see Quinn Hughes, and Quinn Hughes didn't do any media. And I asked, is Quinn Hughes here? And I was told by a staffer, no. I took that to mean he wasn't going to be there. I think they meant, no, he wasn't there yet, because I have been told by the organization that, no, the captain, who was in New York over the weekend, posted pictures on social at the U.S. Open.
That.
And he is headed for the NHL North American Media Tour in Vegas yet again. But not before a stop down at Northeast. So,
okay.
Wow,
yeah.
okay.
I didn't see Quinn Hughes. I didn't see Adam Foote. I didn't see Thatcher Demko or Connor Garland. I did see the Calder Cup. It was on display out there.
Nice.
Saw the owner. I don't know if he sticks around to play golf, but the owner was glad handing. Saw management. Ray and Cammy were out there. Cammy being the management. Ray, of course, is Ray.
the broadcaster.
Yeah. And so, no, I mean, look, it's an informal gathering, the unofficial, as we always say, the unofficial start to the hockey season. I'm just glad, like, the people that play in the Jake Milford make a significant investment. These are well-heeled, many of them season ticket members. The last thing they need is to get rained on. So I think they're going to get a decent day of golf at the very least. And beyond that, who knows? But hopefully it's a good day for all. But it was just nice to be back in that hockey environment.
All right, so Elias says he put on 6 kilos or about 13 pounds. Jeff, how did he look? Like proportionately, where do you think he's gained the weight?
Yeah, there was no pat down involved in the media availabilities today. They didn't have to do their physicals in front of the media. And he was buttoned down in golf attire. So hard to know. But look, to the eye, he did look like maybe he had filled out a little bit. And, the proof will be in the pudding on day one of training camp. Although he is back and has been skating with the group here. And I haven't had a chance to get out and see the informal skates yet. But that'll change at some point this week as well. And I want to see with my own 2 eyes. I just want to see a couple of moments, even in the informal skates at UBC. I just want to see a burst. I want to see something that reminds me of the guy that made it look easy putting up 102 points, that was the rookie of the year, guy that, had other teams on edge anytime that he had the puck on his stick. And he certainly wasn't that player last year or the final couple of months of the previous season. So he's got his work cut out for him, seemed to be in a relatively good headspace. It is only September the 8th today. So, they don't play for keeps until October the 9th. But the things that he said over the offseason and hearing him speak again today, there is a sense of determination. I think he has said and done pretty much the right things. But of course, it is just talk. He has to make that become action when they start playing the regular season against the Flames on October 9th.
We took our orders. We did put his weight in our headline as per his request. His headspace is going to be analyzed all the time. He seemed relatively light. I mean, we know he does not get too verbose. He's not super jocular necessarily. He likes to throw in the odd joke here or there, as deadpan as he is. But, people, believe that at least the tilling of the soil has been there to clean the slate here, to allow Elias Pettersson to have as good a start as possible. So it's going to be interesting to monitor sort of, vibes per 60 here for Elias Pettersson to see if he takes advantage of what looks like a clean slate for him.
Yeah, and when he said the thing about the headlines and then he followed it up, just kidding, sometimes in his own mind, and we know he can get in his own head, I think sometimes the jokes land a little better internally than they do when he tries to take the mic amateur hour. I got a kick out of, and it just comes down to the translation, but when he said he wanted to put on muscles, and I wish it was that easy of just going to the muscles store and, attaching them. But whatever the case, this is a guy that needs to get those separators back. He was never the fastest player, even at his heights, but the NHL edge data is irrefutable. Like his speed bursts, his shot velocity, shot volume were all way down last season. And this is a guy we know has an elite level shot when he is completely right and he is confident and willing to let those shots fly, and just way too few and far between last year. And I'm not even talking about the one-timer. Like, how many times have we seen in the slot, puck on his stick, picks his spot and can beat goaltenders cleanly. So, I hope, and I know sort of whether we were going to get to the poll question, I'll jump in and just say, for me, it is sort of a combination of others. And it does start with being completely clear and free in his mind that his body can do the things that he wants it to do. And so, if that's health, then put me in the health column. But I think it goes beyond that. I want to see him get his confidence back. And I think a confident Elias Pettersson can be a really dangerous Elias Pettersson. But, in years gone by, I guess he's been given the benefit of the doubt a little bit. This year, there's nowhere to hide. Like, that NHL edge data is available on a daily basis. And I think a lot more people are going to be tracking to see, how often is he shooting? How hard is his shot relative to where it was last season? And also, again, he doesn't have to be Nathan McKinnon. He's not going to be the fastest guy in the National Hockey League, but if he's completely healthy, I need to see that there's a few more speed bursts where he takes the puck and decides that his best option is to, carry it himself and hustle it through the neutral zone and then start to make plays once he's gained access to the zone. So, it's a combination of factors there. And whether he was truly injured, that's still open for debate. But if that led to some cloudiness in his mind, that he just wasn't able to do the things that have made him the terrific hockey player that he's been in the past, then I hope that he's cleared his mind over the offseason and that he can hit the ground running here now that he's back in town.
Yeah, hurt, injured, that distinction. And coaches will tell you all the time, and not just in hockey, but in other sports as well. When we talk speed, we're not talking about long speed. Like, there are going to be very few times in an NHL season.
About the 10,000 meters.
Yeah, exactly. Where you're looking to go 100 plus, with the puck on your stick trying to outrace people. It's more about those quick little acceleration bursts that buy you some space, particularly in the offensive zone. You know Brock well. You can speak to his sense of relief, I think, as well as anybody who covers this team, Jeff, but also wasn't asked about 30 goals this year, wasn't asked about repeating 40 goals. What stood out? We'll hear from him later, but what stood out for you in the session with Boeser?
Well, the 30-goal question came in the backwoods behind the building in Whistler at training camp. So we'll, give it time.
We still have time. Okay.
We absolutely. I got a kick out of his answer when somebody asked about the highlight of his summer, and he said, well, a trip to Italy and Croatia. And then he quickly followed that up with, but I did it before the contract was resolved. And he said, way too much stress, not the best idea for a European vacation when you're thinking long-term about your future and where you're going to live and play. So maybe would have been better off to reverse those, but the trip was set. So he went and saw a couple of great places in the world. Yeah, he seemed really relaxed. And look, this is where he wants to be. He made that abundantly clear. I think he had questions in his mind about whether here wanted him. But when push came to shove and the options maybe weren't there for the hockey club, they quickly circled back, and we know that they got the deal done on July the 1st. So, again, when I look at the things that Brock Boeser played through last year, early season concussion in the 13th game of the season, he had 6 goals in his first 12. Like, he was a 40-goal pace. It was early, but he was off to a nice start last year, and I think some people forget that. And then the head injury, and then the JT drama. And ultimately, he talked an awful lot after JT was traded that JT had been his center for the last bunch of seasons. JT was his center in his best season in the National Hockey League. There was some getting used to. And remember, too, that JT was traded, and then Elias Pettersson was shut down in March. Brock Boeser spent the good portion of the stretch run playing with P.S. Suter as his center. He had a little bit of time with Philip Hedl. I don't think there's a match there, and that's why I think it's really important that Elias Pettersson and Brock Boeser reestablish their chemistry. Philip Hedl is all about speed and carrying the puck himself, and the limited time that he and Boeser played together, the numbers showed that it didn't really lead to an awful lot. So they've got to figure out what's best for Philip Hedl, but they also have to figure out what's best for Brock Boeser, and I think that's why, more than pencil, it's probably in ink that Boeser is going to start the year with Elias Pettersson, but it's pretty important that those two find the chemistry that they've had in years gone by, because if it's not there, I don't know what the options are. Brock Boeser needs a skilled center to get him the puck and in the right spots on the ice. So Brock seemed to be in a good headspace. And look, we all know, a sensitive guy, all that trade discussion around the deadline and then his future, that weighed on him too. And so there were a lot of things that went, every guy had a lot going on last season. Through it all, he had 25 goals, which was a marked departure from the 40 that he had scored the previous season, but it wasn't down in the teens. There was a baseline there, but they've committed to him. He's recommitted to the Canucks. He's got to be a 30-goal guy this season. Like, who else is going to score the goals? Jake DeBrusk is going to score some goals. You hope Petey gets his offense back, but they need goals from Brock Boeser, and I think he understands sort of where he fits in the grand scheme of this team building.
Could they go full skill on that top line? I'm sure they'll definitely try all combos, but would they start with DeBrusk on one side and Boeser on the other, or is it just, do you need the stiffness of an Evander Kane up on that line?
No, I think it's quite possible. I think it's very possible that you put your eggs in your basket there, and then you hope that you can sort of cobble together a second line of Kane and Hedel, and whether it's Höglander playing on the other side, or does Connor Garland get promoted into a full-time top six role? Those are questions. Again, we didn't get a chance to talk to Adam Foote, and so not really sure what he's thinking. But I know last week at the informal skates out at UBC, DeBrusk and Paterson were paired together. Was that by design? Is that just, hey, they were, sitting in the locker room together and threw on blue jerseys? I don't think a whole lot happens by chance at this level, so it wouldn't surprise me if those two guys were of the understanding that they're going to play together, so why not, even out at UBC, if you're just playing shinny, try to forge a little bit of chemistry. And
we know Jake wants that.
For sure. Yeah.
He said, I came here for it.
Yeah, and we talked about that last week, that he didn't see the best version of Elias Pettersson and still scored 28 goals through it all. So, if you're Jake DeBrusk, I think you'd want to lay claim to that spot, knowing that at some point and against certain opponents, maybe Evander Kane is a better fit stylistically. I just think at this stage of Evander Kane's career, if that's the big offseason move and they think they're addressing their top six by bringing in a 34-year-old who didn't play at all last season. And look, I think Evander Kane has a spot on this team given his skill set. But if you look at his career, he's never been a massive scorer. He's been a guy that's produced but has also brought it physically, brings that rugged style, can be a deterrent and all those types of things. But, I think 40 points out of a 34-year-old Evander Kane who didn't play stitch in the regular season last year, to me, I think 40 points would be a highly successful first season as a Vancouver Canuck.
I was a little surprised with Lankinen and not Demko. That was offered up for speaking today, Jeff.
Yeah,
Take
apparently
me through that.
Well, apparently Thatcher has told the organization that he will speak when he's on the clock, I guess, is the easiest way. That he's going to speak at training camp, but prior to that, just sticking to himself. But by all accounts, completely healthy. He and Lankinen have been in town working together with Marco Terenius, the goaltending coach, have been on the ice. You think back, even though Demko was around in Penticton last year, but, he and Lankinen haven't been on the roster together an awful lot. I mean, Thatcher was dinged up for much of last season. So, there is a familiarity, but it's not like these two have been a long time running, duo. So I think that's a great first step, is to get into town, just kind of try to figure each other out, push each other off the ice, on the ice. I asked Brock Boeser, how does Demko look? And he said, well, I've had trouble scoring on him. So, that's a good sign right then and there. But that was the word that I never know. Even in their press release the other day when they said, hey, media available out at Northview, select players will be made available. It was the team selecting. It wasn't like we put in requests. So I wasn't sure who we were going to get to talk to, and not ultimately sure how they decided on players like Kevin Lankinen, but always a pleasant chat. So I had a good little visit with Kevin Lankinen. That was the word, that Demko apparently is he'll be available on day one of training camp.
And Foote didn't speak today. He was there, but he didn't speak today, or he wasn't there.
No, I didn't see him, so
okay.
I'm going to tread lightly. And I think, I saw Brett McLean, one of his assistant coaches. I think they are all there. I just didn't see him, and he certainly didn't meet.
And he's a golfer, so I think he probably would have made his way.
Yeah. Or have we? And I'm not sure how much you guys discussed this on Thursday, so forgive me if this is review. But Jeff, have we completely given up on the notion of adding a top flight forward here by the time the season gets going on October 9th?
Yeah, that's my hunch, is that now it's full steam ahead with the guys they've got. They're going to give Philip Hedel, and I saw Philip Hedel among others out of the golf tournament. They're going to give Hedel every opportunity here. And it's fingers crossed, obviously, on his health. But by all accounts, he too has had a fully healthy season to train and prepare. And, it's not like the shock to the system of getting traded. He knew all offseason that he was a Vancouver Canuck, so he can come in here and settle in. He wasn't among those that was on the ice with the informal group out at UBC last week, but I would assume that he starts skating with the rest of them as early as tomorrow. But that's where I come back to this idea of who slots where. I'm sure on a whiteboard somewhere at Rogers Arena, Adam Foote has a general sense of what he's trying to accomplish. The question is, is this organization with a rookie head coach and coming off last year and trying to turn the page, is it better suited to experiment through training camp in the preseason, or would they be better served to try to drill right down from day one of training camp and get some line combinations in that they think that they can move through the preseason right into the regular season? So that's certainly one of the things, the approach of Adam Foote at training camp. And again, we may have to wait a week before we're able to put some of those questions to him. But no, I think, Matt, the way that it's set up right now, this is their group. There are a lot of questions. There's been a lot of talk already in the market throughout the summer about the depth at center ice. And it's sort of twofold. To me, it's, all right, if these guys that they've got can cut it, what does that look like? But what if they can't? There isn't a whole lot of depth. And one knock to any one player or one of those guys, if they're not able to carry their own weight here, it gets, I think, fairly desperate pretty quickly for the Vancouver Canucks. And maybe
we thought Pius Suter was a questionable top six center. My goodness, how about this year?
Yeah. So I think they start the season with what they've got, as long as those guys are healthy. But, how patient is this management group going to be? Understanding what Jim Rutherford said at the end of the season in late April about the cost of doing business, but the cost of not doing business. Well, they've elected to go with the no business at this point. So let's see how it all plays out here.
Yeah, and I can only imagine that Jim Rutherford, for sure, if not Patrick Alvin as well, would like to do that business, just haven't been able to or aren't willing to pay the cost of that business. Mm-hmm. All right, Jeff, started anew. Mm-hmm. We're back again together here. This is many, many years for the three of us.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you on Friday. Thank you for this, my friend.
All right, guys. Thank you.
And we'll hear from some of the Vancouver Canucks coming up next, including Brock Boeser and Tyler Myers.
Was that a fluke?
Yeah, good teaching.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what everybody says.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fun.
It's almost like it's the club's fault.
Too bad.
No, how about the Redwoods? If you hit a bad shot, it's the club's fault, not your fault.
Step, other hand.
So he's saying practice makes perfect. That was awesome, Craig. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
That was really appreciate it. Thank you.
So Harrison Price from the Historic Wall Center. This next segment brought to you by Simply Spiked.
Summer's not over.
No, not till the 20th, 21st.
Refuse it.
Refuse.
Every time you drink your lemonade, limeade, or peach Simply Spiked drink, you are putting a flag in the ground, basically saying summer is not over. Do your part. Right. The more of us that do this, stave off autumn. So your next hang, make sure you've got a box of each on hand. The more, the merrier, obviously, both in terms of Simply Spiked and friends and family. But keep it around, and we're going to keep summer rolling for as long as we possibly can.
She has plans on more beach days, so we are absolutely going to be hitting the beach, if not the pool as well.
It was the hottest or most humid day in Vancouver history on Friday. Nothing breaks the humidity quite like a Simply Spiked on ice. Whatever your favorite flavor is, make sure you dive in and have it on hand next time you're gathering with friends and family. Must be legal drinking age. Please celebrate responsibly and find it on sale at your favorite government or private liquor store.
Well, as we mentioned with Jeff, a number of the Canucks talked today at the Jake Milford charity golf tournament that always kicks off Canucks season. I got to say, it was jarring to see Brock Boeser in a Canucks baseball cap because I did not think we were going to see Brock Boeser in Canucks colors again. He talked about how excited he was to be back, said it was a short summer as always, and excited to be around the guys. And, of course, there were no guarantees of that. He said he was already sick of the informal summer skates. The guys are trickling in day by day, and he's ready for that first day at training camp. And yeah, when we broke in April, and you'll remember some of the questions to Brock Boeser about his Canucks tenure in that end of season media availability, we thought we were saying goodbye to a career Canuck. Instead, he continues as the longest tenured member of the NHL team. Thatcher Demko was drafted a year before him, but yes, he continues as the longest tenured member of the club, and he talked about how it was absolutely a stressful summer.
Sure. Obviously, it was a very stressful time, and I'm just happy that it's over and done with, and now I can just focus on playing hockey. And obviously, I said that I want to be here from the start, so I'm super excited, and I'm really happy I can just focus on hockey now.
Needs to work on his scheduling.
Yes.
Went to Croatia and Italy before July 1st. Like that is a rookie free agent move. He will know.
And he was a rookie free agent.
He was a rookie free agent, and it showed
yes.
because that should be a July 15th arrival day, well sealed and signed.
That's right.
Instead, he went before, so he spent the whole time checking his phone and being on the phone, I'm sure, with his agent.
Yeah. I hope he was present for her, though.
Do you know how many times we both got that look? Put down the phone. Why aren't you enjoying this?
Why aren't you present?
Yes.
Boeser, like everybody there, said he recognizes the need to move on from last year and have a clean sheet, fresh start after the drama, infighting that took over and derailed last season with the Vancouver Canucks. Mainly, of course, Elias Pettersson and JT Miller. But he also talked about the areas in need of improvement, and he completely understands that that has a lot to do with him and the forward group and scoring more goals.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a lot of good parts of our team. You know, we have a lot of strong foundations with the goalies and the defense, and obviously we talked about our offense from last season wasn't that good, so we obviously need to be better. So I think that's a key focus. But I think we just got to make sure that we're moving on from last season and focusing on this season and making sure it's a fresh start.
He's not the chief culprit, Matt. Like he was fine last year, but he wasn't great.
He wasn't great like he was the previous year.
Right. So like he can still improve. Absolutely. No one's debating that, but I think he can kind of hold his head high that on a pretty bad offensive team, he was fine. He was okay.
He wasn't asked, is this year you score 30 or can you score 40 again, which of course have been the storylines from the last two seasons. It was 25 and 25 for an even 50 points in 75 games last season for Brock Boeser. You may remember he also missed some time early with the concussion after that terrible hit from Tanner Jeannot of the Los Angeles Kings. He's the second guy, and Patterson mentioned this too, that it starts on, quote, the first day of camp. And I got to say, like, I would have thought the Alvin messaging that this is a 24/7, 365 thing. The two, I do wonder how that landed with Alvin to hear both Patterson and Boeser say it starts on the first day of camp, because the big message on the way out the door in April was that you need to have a big center. Like, you have to have a preoccupation with getting as good as you can throughout the entirety of the offseason and, of course, the day-to-day in season, and that this isn't here's camp about to start, time to really pin down focus and effort.
He's talking about team. He can't work. Well, I mean, I think you're splitting hairs because, hey, PD doesn't gain 13 pounds by not working out in the offseason, not doing something proactive in the offseason.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they are not yet aligned with their general manager messaging-wise in terms of everything that it takes to be a contending team.
Maybe on words. But again, you can't work on team during the summer. Like you're by yourself. So you can't work on team. So I think he's talking about as a team, getting on the same page as a team. That starts the first day that you're together.
Yeah, and of course, Thatcher Demko is going to be available, at least we sure hope, and to the best of our knowledge right now, on day one of training camp, on day one of the regular season. And Boeser's been skating with Demko, his longtime companion and fellow American, here informally with the Canucks, and he had a word or two about how Thatcher looks.
Pretty good. I'm just so happy that he had a full summer of being healthy, and he's already back, and he's been back for a bit, and I haven't scored many on him, so he looks good out there.
Yeah, we got a lot of confidence that the Vancouver Canucks should be able to keep the puck out of their net with Demko and Lankinen in goal, and of course this beefed up defensive core, which headlined by Quinn Hughes, of course, but also featuring, let's hope, a healthy Philip Roenick, Marcus Pettersson in his first full season as a Vancouver Canuck, and then, of course, the emergence of Elias Pettersson, EPD, towards the end of last season. Not to mention Derek Forbert, I thought really picked it up late last season. Plus, who knows, a push from below in the form of Victor Mancini, Kirill Kudryavtsev, who got in the lineup late last year, and, of course, the rookie, Tom Wielander, also coming to the party this year.
Yeah, net and blue line are in great shape, but you can't underestimate what the lack of worry will do for this team. Like, not knowing Demko's availability throughout training camp, throughout the start of the season.
Plus, with that defense core that wasn't good enough at puck moving, right? Early in the season.
So, yeah, I mean, who knows? We're going to see. The proof will ultimately be in the pudding, but, it is a much better spot to start than last time with all those questions swirling. And not that they were in bad shape with Kevin Lankin, who, as you remember, was his very best self in October and November. That was the very best of Kevin Lankin. But, I think it's more subconscious than it is conscious, the worry. But I think, it's a little unsettling when because even if your goalie in the present is playing well, as he was in Kevin Lankinen, you're dreaming ahead to the playoffs in October and November because nothing has hit the fan yet. And you're wondering, Jesus, is Demmer going to be ready for the playoffs? You're deep wondering that. So without that question around to start the season, I think everybody just has both feet on the ground. It's good.
And, of course, circling back to that offensive improvement that Boeser noted, so much of it, of course, has to be from within. As the club parted ways with Pius Suter and Dakota Joshua, they combined for 32 goals last season, 25 of them from Suter, who's now off with the St. Louis Blues. Joshua traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs. And in terms of NHL veteran forwards, really the only guy they brought in was Evander Kane, who didn't play last regular season. He was coming back from injury. So, got to get more from Paterson, as we know. Got to get more from Boeser, as we have talked about. Need a healthy Filip Chytil. Nils Höglander really needs to take that next step, get back to being the 20-plus goal scorer. We know, not to mention some others having to step up. But a big focus will be on Evander Kane, the Vancouver boy who's come on home here to join the Vancouver Canucks. Said he wanted to be a part of this after his experience in Edmonton. And here's sort of, as we began to call him, well, I guess over the last couple of years when Rick Tocchet had mentioned to us, Tyler Myers is sort of my voice in the room. Tyler Myers, the conscience of the Canucks dressing room.
Sort of a pseudo-BC boy now, too. Like, he's sort of ours now.
Yeah. I mean, Texas, Alberta, he grew up. Yeah. His dad was, but here he is. He's a Kelowna guy. He's a Vancouver Canuck. And he was asked about Evander Kane. Here's what the big defenseman had to say.
I think Kaner's going to help us a lot. He brings a lot to a group. Big power forward. The times that I've had with him when we were younger, playing against him, wasn't that fun. And playing with him at World Juniors, things like World Juniors and Worlds, I know what he can bring, and I think he's exactly some of the things that we were lacking a little bit of, and I think he's going to step in and be great for us.
Are you prepared to pencil him in for 20 goals?
Evander Kane?
Yes.
No,
you're
yet.
not.
No,
I didn't say pen, just pencil.
No, well, I'll
put it in
see.
pencil.
Yeah,
like just banging goals in, Matt. I think he can bang in enough that he gets to 20.
He should get the opportunity.
Yeah,
but 34 coming off a significant injury, like didn't play a lot of hockey last year. Those things can linger, right? Like it can take a while to get back. And at his age, there's even worlds where you don't get it back. He was 24 goals the previous year in Edmonton in 77 games. He was 16 goals with the Oilers the previous year, but that was in half a season exactly in 41 games.
23 goal pace in the playoffs.
He should be there. Yeah, he scored a lot in the playoffs. Now, you have to take the Edmonton numbers with the grain of salt because you're playing with two of the best and most dynamic offensive players the world over in Connor McDavid.
You don't have to generate.
And Leon
you just have to finish.
Well, yeah, that's it. Yeah. And, other than blowing somebody off the puck with physicality. Evander isn't really a generator. He is more of a finisher. We'll see how he does. We'll see who he plays with and who he finds chemistry with.
Now, he was younger, but on non-playoff San Jose teams, he was still scoring at a very good pace, too.
Yep.
If he plays with Elias, he's got a chance.
Yeah. And again, like for me, that's as much a question of rehabilitation and age.
Yeah.
If he is fully over everything that can force him to miss all of last year, and if the body is still holding up great, then yes, for sure. If any of those things are lacking, then I think the Canucks are going to have some trouble.
When fully healthy, he's not on the power play, though, is he?
Well, we've had this discussion as well over the course of the summer with no JT Miller there. It's going to be interesting to see how Coach Foote and his staff line it all up. But Patterson, Boeser, DeBrusk, Hughes,
Heel.
I mean, my sense is I would want Kane on that first unit.
Banging down low? Yeah, could be.
Is the net front guy?
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe in a shooting
Boeser's
position.
been so good at tipping, though, right?
That's that's it. And, of course, we have to see how Adam Foote is going to want to play. This is a first-time NHL head coach. Rick Tocchet is his quote-unquote mentor when it comes to NHL coaching experience. But, of course, Foote, and you'll remember his introductory press conference where he talked about drawing on things from his playing career and from the coaches that he had, including our old friend Mark Crawford. So is it going to be dump and chase hockey? Is it going to be something more puck possession? The one thing is clear is that there is a number of Vancouver Canucks players who were pleased to see Adam Foote get promoted into the top job, including Tyler Myers.
Footer, really excited for him, really happy to have him back. And I think one of the things I love about him is he, I think he reads a room and reads a player, better than, a lot of people that I've seen. He's helped me tremendously the last few years, and for him to jump in as a head coach, I think he's just going to help, more and more guys being able to, be a part of it a little bit more in a higher role. So really excited for him and happy to have him back there.
Boeser said it too. Boeser said he's a guy that really wants to connect with the players.
And we heard a little bit of that in his introductory press conference. It's also clear that Adam Foote isn't completely and totally comfortable talking and being the voice of a room as a head coach. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, that was his MO as a player too, right? Because we're not talking about a guy who was gifted offensively. If you're going to last that long and make the sort of teams and get the sort of accolades that Adam Foote did as a player, it's going to mean, you're extremely stout defensively, but you also bring intangibles to your club that benefit others. So
I wonder if the Foote media thing was that Foote saw this as Rick Tocchet's team, and I'm not going to wade into Rick's.
Well, I don't think he wanted. So first of all, I don't think he wanted to. So I think it was like, great, I don't ever have to talk here as an assistant because Rick's going to take up a lot of that oxygen.
I think he's going to now, though.
Well, he has to.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the head coach. Yeah. You're available pretty much every day, right? That's
even when the players aren't.
That's how this works.
Yeah.
You're making the decisions. You're accountable for them, and you're accountable to the market and the fans and customers who pay top dollar and dedicate their time to Vancouver Canucks hockey. So excited. We're getting going here, and it is an incredible time of year in the world of sports. Just think, you were telling me what you did this weekend just watching sports back to back to back to
Friday
back to
was
back
crazy.
on
For
Friday.
a weekday. For a weekday. It was crazy.
Weekday. The NFL has started. The Lions were in action. There was huge news in the world of huge happenings in the world of tennis. There are huge happenings for Canadian rugby. The baseball home stretches upon us. Vancouver Canadians concluded their season. All of that coming up next. Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center. Big game downtown. Make it more than just a night. Make it a memory. Stay steps from the action here at the Sheraton Vancouver Wall Center with an exclusive Harrison Price rate. Call 604-331-1000. Mention the show. Some blackout date supply. Subject to availability. NFL Week 1 starts with a Buffalo-Baltimore thriller, an upset of Kansas City, and Aaron Rodgers' comeback/revenge story arc. Russell Wilson, already on tenuous ground as starting quarterback of the New York Giants. And the Seahawks losing in Geno-esque fashion as Geno and Pete win their opener on the road. The Seahawks have played so many of those games over the last 4 or 5 years, haven't they?
Not as much in the teens of points, but yes, the manner in which to lose, yes. I mean, the defense.
Of course, in the Geno Smith era, it's close late. You have the ball. You need your quarterback to make a play or at the very least avoid the big mistake. And 2 plays after hitting Jackson Smith and Jigba for a 40-yard gain down the San Francisco 14-yard line, new quarterback Sam Darnold fumbles. And the Hawks lose 17-13.
And, they abandoned their offensive game plan entirely. There was no running.
They couldn't run.
It was the defense was pretty much as advertised.
Yeah. Defense got 2 picks. That's a soft play from Reek Woolen in the end zone on the game-winning touchdown. And, in fact, there's stats to back that up. Next-gen stats here. Jake Tongas, and first of all, I had never heard of this guy. Like, I watch a lot of college football. A backup 49ers tight end after George Kittle leaves the game with injury. So the completion probability on that one is 14.7%. Purdy's traveling at nearly 16 miles an hour rolling out. Tongas has 0.4 yards of separation when the ball arrives. Woolen goes for the pick.
Yeah.
Special teams blocked a field goal. They won that battle, too. But the offense musters just 14 first downs, 230 yards.
Completion percentages are totally fine. Only missed a handful of passes. But
how many times did they throw it?
23, I think. 22, 23. But dinking and dunking for 6 yards a pass.
Well,
150 yards passing.
So here's the thing. Without DK Metcalf, and even without Tyler Lockett, who could still run, you may well be missing the guy to take the top off the defense. We'll see. Smith and Jigba could be that. But when I look at an offensive line that is better, but probably still not great, and quarterbacking that they hope is better, but not at that elite level, with fewer weapons in the passing game, we'll see about Cooper. Anyways,
84 yards rushing. We were told they were going to run the ball.
Well, yeah.
47 yards for Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah.
He's the high rusher. Kenneth Walker had 20 yards.
Yeah, and they're off to Pittsburgh to face Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, who get a comeback win over the Jets in the second half. Aaron stepping seamlessly into the villain role in Gotham, and said after the game he was happy to beat anyone associated with the Jets because they didn't think he could play football anymore.
What does it say about you, Aaron, where you burn every bridge you've walked over? What does it say about you?
The Raiders upset New England at Foxborough in the debut of head coach Mike Vrabel. Pete Carroll, his debut as well, becomes the oldest coach to ever coach again, head coach in the NFL. And he's into the NFL record books. He is the only head coach to debut with victories with 4 different teams. The Patriots, where he won yesterday, the Jets, Seattle, and of course, now Las Vegas. Good week for the NFL, though, despite some low-scoring snoozers and an unappealing 10 a.m. slate. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm just a basic cable. I shouldn't say basic cable because I have time shifting. But I don't buy Sunday ticket anymore. I haven't for a while. We'll see how the Bears do this year. They may force me into it. But I got Cincinnati, Cleveland, the Jets, Pittsburgh, and New England Raiders in the 10 a.m. slate. I wish they would have moved that Detroit-Green Bay game because that's, Midwest time. So that game could have been the signature game at 1 p.m.
But 2 of the primetime games were outstanding.
Oh, incredible.
Thursday and Sunday were just smashing.
Really, really good. And, of course, Kansas City loses down in Sao Paulo, Brazil to the Chargers on Friday.
And here's my hot take. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce retire at the end of the season.
Mahomes, what are you talking about?
Have you seen the stats on Mahomes?
Oh, no.
The guy does not pass downfield anymore. His passes over 10 yards, you can count on one hand over the last 2 seasons.
Offensive line and receivers group is a part of. Mike, clip this by week 16 when he's going for another MVP. I want it brought back, okay? Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Cincy, Cleveland, New Orleans, Arizona, they all went down to the wire early. Houston and the Rams did so late. But then Buffalo. And wow, what a game.
What a game.
Bills score 16 in the final 4 minutes for a 41-40 win over Baltimore in a battle of AFC heavyweights. Lamar Jackson gets into it with a fan afterwards, said the fan touched him first, but he's got to be better. And that's right. That like Lamar had it right. Yeah. The guy put his hands on you and he shouldn't have, but you can't retail. We've had this discussion before. The thing leagues fear beyond massive gambling scandals is player or coach interaction with fans. Just can't go there.
But the one shove back and then moving on is what like he didn't pursue it.
I know.
I'm okay with what he did though. I like if he puts hands.
The league won't be though. The league won't.
No, probably not.
No. They do seminars at the beginning of every year. If you want to interact verbally with fans, do so at your own peril. But do not ever touch.
I don't think he gets suspended, though. Maybe
I think he'll get fined.
Token fine.
Yeah, they want him on the field.
Yeah.
Bears-Vikings tonight on Monday Night Football to wrap Week 1. Football closer to home, and the Lions blow it late again. BC leads by as much as 17 in the nation's capital. By 30-16 with 13 minutes left. Red Blacks outscore them 16-3 from there. And just mistakes compound. Sean White misses a field goal. He doesn't do much of that. That would have put them up 9 late. You got a late hit on the out of bounds on the kickoff. Can't do that. Can't get a stop. Can't ice the game offensively. Veteran linebacker Micah Awe. Man, it's bad. It's bad. I'm not going to lie. This is probably one of the most emotional losses I've been in. It's not even how it slipped away at the end. It's how it's been. We've been doing this. It's been 4 games of this.
They've scored 36 points on average over the last 4 games. They are 2-2.
They're 5-7 overall, tied with Edmonton for fourth place in the CFL West. They're ahead on the tiebreaker. They're 1 game ahead of both Ottawa and Toronto for the final crossover playoff berth. But of course, you have to finish with a better record than the Eastern team to get that playoff berth. The tie goes to the Indigenous Eastern team for that 3rd playoff berth out east.
And the woulda, coulda, shoulda. If they win the game, they're 6-6. They're tied for 3rd with the Bombers, who they have to beat outright in the standings too because of tiebreaker. But still, you got 6 games left. Like there's a lot of time to create that distance if you're starting from scratch at even Steven with the Bombers.
And Saskatchewan did them a huge service. They swept Winnipeg in the Labor Day Banjo Bowl do-si-do.
Yeah.
So they got help on the out-of-town scoreboard here with the Winnipeg loss. And
got to go 5-1. You got to go 5-1 over the last 6 games.
Mm-hmm. They got Ottawa here Friday to begin the final 3rd of the CFL schedule. It's a 7 p.m. game. BC Place looking to snap a 2-game losing streak, stay in playoff.
Matt, it's
position.
It'll be September the 13th on game day, something like that. 12th, 13th,
12th.
It'll be September the 12th when they kick off, and they'll have 2 wins at BC Place when they kick off. Mm-hmm. 2 wins.
Baseball, where the Jays dropped 2 of 3 in the Bronx, now lead the Yanks by just 2 games atop the AL East. A little concerned for Scherzer after yesterday. Here's the other thing, having come from Toronto. Was there on the weekend. Walked into a suburban pub on Friday night wondering, okay, what's going to be the television situation there? You have the Jays and Yankees in the biggest series of the year for them. You have the NFL game, San Diego, Kansas City. You had Felix Auger-Aliassime playing center in the semis of the U.S. Open, and you had the CFL game. Every single television was on the Blue Jays game.
Mm-hmm.
And it was clear there were people there to watch the Blue Jays game. They're very excited there, as they are down the I-5 in Seattle. Mariners scored 28 runs on the weekend to take 2 of 3 from Atlanta. Kyle Rowley now up to 53 home runs. Seattle 2.5 games back of Houston in the AL West, 1.5 up on Texas in what is a looming chase pack there. in the American League for the wild card. They start a 7-game homestand tonight versus St. Louis and the Angels. I realize we have to play interleague now. God, I hate the fact that these are massive games in the final 20, and it's
the last 4 weeks of the season. There should not be
well, you always, because there's 15 and 15. There's always got to be one. But man, I wish they'd find a way to make sure the contending teams, and I know you don't know the contending teams. No, but you have an idea of who's good and who's bad.
You have a matrix at the start of the year. If you were in the bottom third of your league, bottom 5 teams, those are the teams that play interleague in the last 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah. And the Vancouver Canadians wrap up their 2025 season yesterday at the Nat. It was with a loss. They finished 75-57 this year, 2 wins off the club record of 77 set in 2023.
And yet they don't make the playoffs.
No, because of the way, first half, second half. Infielder Sean Keyes sets a new club record with 19 home runs. Honestly, the story this year for the Seas was terrific pitching development. When you think of who went through Vancouver and was promoted, Travis Savage, Cal Stevens, since traded, Gage Stanifer, Fernando Perez, Che Yeager, and others. So they were excelling at the Nat. They got promoted. That's what minor league baseball's about. Big thank yous from everyone here at Sekerson Price and the Nation Network, to everyone over there at Nat Bailey for another outstanding season. Skipper Jose Mayorga and his players, they were always available to us. GM Alan Bailey, friends Walter Cosman, Rosemary Alberts, and of course the inimitable Tyler Zickel on the mic and media relations, a dual threat. Next season begins April 7th. The thing I love about baseball, they know next year's schedule early.
Yes.
April 7th, everybody. Circle it on your calendars. That is the home opener for the Vancouver Canadians season 2026 at the Nat. And I'll tell you what, why don't you get season tickets? Ensure you'll be there for opening night plus all those sold-out games through the summer. 604-872-5232 or CanadiansBaseball.com.
Fresh off the printing press. You can go read it now at Blue Jays Nation, our friends on the Nation Network. Will Travis Savage reach the majors in 2025? They're still talking about with this Jays bullpen.
I was listening to Blair and Barker while stuck in traffic driving in Toronto on Friday, Blake, believe it or not.
Yes.
And they had John Schneider, the former Vancouver Canadians manager, who, of course, is now the Jays skipper. They asked him about you, Savage. Jeff asked him, is the road paved for him to come in? And Schneider said, well, I wouldn't say paved. It's still under construction, but the crews are working hard. He's a superb interview.
The gravel base is down.
Yeah, exactly. And he just talked about, is he one of their 14 best pitchers? Now, the bullpen wasn't the problem this weekend.
No, it's true.
And I think that's where he would factor, although still 3 weeks left. And it was, if that rotation, anyways.
48 hours respite for collapsing.
It may well be Savage to help out that bullpen before things are said and done. Whitecaps back at it Saturday versus Philadelphia. But the story soccer-wise on the weekend was Caps and Canadian international midfielder Ali Ahmed, who was outstanding in Canada's 3-0 victory over Romania Friday, a friendly series that they got going on in Europe. It was his first international goal. He also set up Jonathan David for a goal. Burnaby's Nico Segur also scores. And the goal Ahmed scored, he just hustled and dispossessed the keeper, who was getting a little too lazy, a little too risky with the ball. Anyway, I mean, take a look at everything that he did he connected on 81% of his passes. He created chances. He completed crosses. He drew fouls. He was sensational. And there's some rumors about transfer on Ollie.
I think, I would guess this is the last run of Ali Ahmed in a Whitecaps kit, honestly. So
when do you think this will happen?
In the offseason.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I think this is probably his last stretch. He won't score many for club or country. That's just, he does not have a great boot on him. So I hope he savored that one. They may be few and far between.
Well, it was a short distance.
Yes.
I mean, after you dispossess the keeper right at the line.
But he's got marvelous speed and good vision. And the thing is, he was, to me, the man of the match. But he left something out there. And Stephen Caldwell even mentioned that during the course of the match. Like, he still makes a few bad decisions because he's young and he's learning. Like there were other options out there. He could have even been better than he was, and he was fabulous. So yeah, lots to like there, and enjoy him while you can.
And then there is this from longtime Canadian soccer journalist Simon Fudge. And we haven't heard much on this, which is why we bring this to the table. At Soccer Talk Vancouver has learned that former Canadian men's national team player and tech entrepreneur John Kennedy Fitzgerald.
Hoity-toity name.
Quite a name there. Name just screams money.
Yeah.
Think his grandparents were bootlegging molasses over the border during Prohibition too. John Kennedy Fitzgerald, not to be confused, has scheduled a meeting with majority owner Greg Kerfoot to potentially join the Whitecaps as an investor. You may have missed it a couple of weeks ago. We had Whitecaps co-owner Jeff Mallett on the show who said, look, we're open to all sorts of scenarios here. To an investor, to somebody taking it over and buying majority share or buying us completely out. So that's a little bit of a change from what the Whitecaps were talking about earlier in the season. Anyways, Fitzgerald's apparently interested. He made 13 appearances for the men's national team between 88 and 90. He also played for Canada at the youth level. He was in the futsal World Cup back in the day. You've been poking around his business.
Yeah, it was cryptocurrency and gambling tech, and now has waited. He literally just made news in the financial world a month ago, taking over a large position in a mining company. So he's, I mean, with all these sorts of acquisitions, dude is rich. How rich?
Yeah.
It's hard to know. And, the fact that he took over a large position in August, you can read that two ways. Oh, he's overextended. He's just made a big purchase. Does he have the money for this? But at the same time, if he had that money available to him, creditors will look at it and say, yeah, we'll give you the money to buy that sports team. Yeah, you got collateral
to back it up. Shout out to the Vancouver Rise too, who obliterate Calgary 6-0. They're unbeaten in 8. They got 4 straight wins. They've beaten every team in the NSL. They head to Toronto next weekend. Then they're home September 20th at Swangard for a game against Ottawa. Fan Appreciation Night, final regular season match of the year.
Their new goal scorer, Latifa Abdu, scored a goal from almost half, catching the keeper out, floated it over.
The Beckham goal.
Yeah,
the take a bow, David Beckham goal.
Yeah.
Nice performance from the Canadians at the U.S. Open, plus another chapter in Sincarez. That's the first time I came across it. You like it? You hate it?
No, not a fan.
Carlos Alcaraz defeats Jannik Sinner in 4 sets in the men's final to take over the world number 1 and split the Grand Slams 2-2 this year. Those two have accounted for the last 8 Grand Slams, winning 4 apiece over 2 years. Alcaraz leads overall 6-4 in Grand Slam titles. Felix bows out in the semis versus Sinner, but he's up to number 13 in the world. He had a break point in the 4th set, Blake, and if he makes good on that one, Sinner is really sweating. Alas, is not able to hold.
Was it not triple break point? Did he not have triple break point in there?
I may have missed that. I may have missed that.
But he was a lot of fun, and I said it on Twitter. But
and the crowd loves him there. I know he's been a semifinalist once before, but man,
they were cheering him on versus Sinner.
They're cheering him like he's an American to some degree.
Yeah, well, he's a great looking kid, and he's very affable.
He's nice,
very nice guy. Yeah. He plays an exciting brand. He's not quite the returner that Sinner is, but or Djokovic for that matter, but. He's got a pretty well-rounded game. Still not perfect, but he should be in the next tier. Like it should be. It's those 3, and a lot of people are saying, "Okay, we're finally starting to see the separation." Djokovic dropping off, but he should be in that next tier. Like he's got the game to be below Sinner and Alcaraz. Now, will he ever get to that level? I don't know.
This tournament rekindled my hope for Canadian singles players.
Yes,
with what Layla did, and Layla played very, very well.
She doesn't have a serve is what I hate, but yeah.
And Felix and what he did, Gabby Dabrowski is turning into a little bit of a Daniel Nestor on the female side.
For sure.
She wins the doubles crown, the women's doubles crown. It's her second Grand Slam, both at the U.S. Open there in Flushing. We mentioned earlier last month, I guess, that Canadian rugby is actually progressing a little bit here. The men's program had 15s had been such disarray.
Decade of darkness. Yeah.
Canadian women's rugby team destroys Scotland. Like, this is the island from where the game came. They destroy Scotland 40-19. They're undefeated at 3-0 in the World Cup. They won their pool. They're into the quarterfinals Saturday versus Australia.
Who are good, but not as good as the men's side, the Australian women.
The Canadian men have qualified for the 2027 World Cup, also in Australia. Or I guess Canada's playing Australia. It's not in Australia. The Canadian men qualified for the 2027 World Cup in Australia. First time since 2019 they've qualified for a World Cup, albeit it is an expanded field to 24 teams. It is a little clunky, the Rugby World Cup, because you can't go like soccer every few days.
You need the recovery.
Longer breaks between
it's
games.
A long term.
It's a long term. It's a little harder to follow. I know you're getting ready for your hockey pool. And let me tell you, Daily Faceoff has got your back. The brand new DFO Fantasy Draft Kit, your one-stop shop for everything you need to build that perfect fantasy hockey team. We're talking player projections here, updated line combos, power play units, sleepers, bust warnings, team previews. They've got it all. All the tools are there, whether you're a seasoned vet, fantasy rookie. Kit has everything you need to dominate your league. So before you make that first pick, or panic in round 5, because you know you're going to panic in round 5 when someone pops on a player that you had earmarked for round 5. It happens all the time. Head over to dailyfaceoff.com/draft-kit and get your hands on the Fantasy Draft Kit. Fantasy hockey domination starts at dailyfaceoff.com. Results of the Bogey Juice poll question from Thursday. We asked you, which are you most excited about right now, NFL starting or the Canucks skating informally? You said the NFL, but by a smidge. It was 53.5 to 46.5. Dermot with we talking about practice?
Not even. Not even
practice.
No.
Jimmy says if it's not hockey, he don't give a...
And that's the other side of the coin.
Get it. Do you have any errors and omissions? Anything you'd like to flag? Did Yerke get in your comments about anything that went
No,
by?
but as I was watching the doubles final, I was taken by Emily Rotliff's labeling as New Zealander. And I was like, oh, God, I missed a star on the damn flag. She's Kiwi, not Australian. I called her Australian. Apologies, deep apologies.
Ambassador Paul will not be happy with you down
Is that the only difference? I'm going to put myself in easy nose again. Is it just the number of stars on the flag? Is that what it is?
Stars on flag. NZ.
We'll do some flag research.
AUS.
Yeah.
We'll find out tomorrow. Thank you.
And we are back tomorrow.
5 days a week as we get going here in September on Succes and Price. Thank you for joining us today. Appreciate you spending some time carving out for joining the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow on social. That's Twitter, X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky Live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time. And, of course, support the community sponsors you hear us talking about and keep it local.